Next up on the Cosmic News Network, First Contact with Joshua Pert.
Good morning, Earthlings. Good. How you doing today? Good. How you doing today? Welcome to First Contact Radio. Welcome to First Contact Radio. To talk about all these things I'm talking about is because in life, everything is energy. Every single thing that's out there.
Yo, it's First Contact with Joshua Poet. He's the man on the mic, just in case you didn't know it. Covering news from all around the globe, from the weather and space to UFOs. He'll talk politics and make you open your eyes. Conspiracy theories and government lies. He'll dig it all up and try to find the proof. Cause it's time to demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio. We have
time to demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio. We have
It's time to demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio.
It's time to demand the truth.
There we go. Good morning, Earthlings. See, it always helps if I turn the microphone on. Alright, but we're off and running now. Let's look at what's going on. Today's Halloween. That was the trick for today, folks. That was the trick. Microphone off, microphone on. Alright, today's 31st, 7:22 a.m. We switched from one moon sign to the next. Now we are in the sign of Libra. Right here, Libra is a sign of balance. It's a sign of karmic balance, learning to say and do the things that help us and avoid saying and doing the things that hurt us. It's an air sign, means air moves. So air doesn't usually stay still, it moves around a lot, so there's movement implied with this idea. So we've got air and we've got water, the two signs for today. Well, let's think of how air and water work together. Air and water can work very nicely. And see, a boat could be on the water, and wind could be a nice gentle breeze, push a boat across. Or the air could be really strong, and that water could be really gathered together and storm. It could be a big hurricane, lots of different ways. So it just depends how the energies play together. So let's hope they play good today. The moon phase is almost back down to a new moon. We're at 10% of the way full, making our way there in the next couple days. The Mayan Oracle, we begin a new wave spell. Not only a new wave spell, but at the beginning here of the Zolkin grid, because the other day we were down here. Now we're starting over again. Okay? So today is, first of all, you can see is a galactic activation portal day because we're in the first column, in the first row. We're at the very beginning of a new wave spell. So the wave spell here is the wave spell themed according to the dragon, which is about birth. So dragon is also the guide today. So we got the magnetic dragon guided by the dragon. The hidden powers are enlightenment, life force, energy. The endlessness is our challenge for today, reflection of endlessness, and the monkey, playfulness of magic. Okay, that's our challenge. Look at all of these today. The phrase for today is, I unify in order to nurture attracting being. I seal the input of birth with a magnetic tone of purpose. I'm guided by my own power doubled, and as I said, today's a galactic activation portal day. Right here. Spaceweather.com, 383.1 kilometers per second is the solar wind for today. Planetary K-index between a 2 and 3. Chrono hole, got this one creeping over slowly. And M-class flares dropped down to 50. X down to 10. Actually, X has jumped up from 10. It was 5 yesterday, right? Geomagnetic storm activity is up as well. 45% in the mid-latitudes, and it wanes as you get into the higher latitudes there. Here is the report for suspicious observers for today.
Good morning, folks. Wake Talbot and Thornhill, Scott and Wall bring back Russell. Tweet McCanny, the single most powerful instrument for detecting dark matter, has come up with a great big goose egg. No detections. Of course, in the electric universe, it's not dark matter. These scientists are not discouraged. In fact, much of this article is a congratulations on merely having the device and performing the experiment. They are expecting better results in the future, I'm sure. Great read about the valley dwellers in Norway, sick of a lack of sunlight, and so they've decided to do something about it. That is awesome. As always, check the ISON updates on Bruce Gary's site. Their new spatial enhancement appears to show a sun-facing coma feature which, in my opinion, has to be reminding these guys of that sun-facing jet. NOAA's Environmental Visualization Lab with a terrific teaching aid here for why a hurricane like Sandy can take a left hook. They get caught and follow the clockwise drive of a blocking high-pressure cell. See the whole animation at their site. Let's come to the real-time threats. Typhoon Crosa right about on top of the Philippines. At this point, we sit back and wait for the damage numbers. Here's an article about those megalows in the Pacific, bringing warmth and moisture well further north than usual, up to Alaska. And speaking of megalows, Raymond is now gone, completely obliterated by the energy and moisture-stealing cell atop the United States. This is yet another of those lows that force us to realize how pressure is changing on Earth. We now have a Halloween tornado warning across 14 states. I have never seen the Weather Channel's Torcon look like this before. It is the end of October, WTF. But just like we saw a few weeks ago, the back edge of that low is yanking so strongly south that we will get major snow at latitudes lower than those receiving enough heat to drive tornadic activity. Higher highs, lower lows, the energetic event unfolding before our eyes. Not much going on down under. Storms haven't caused damage yet and appear to hug the south again. Meanwhile in Europe, the backside of that low is indeed cresting now as expected. Took a gamma burst last night from the Aquarius constellation, first one in 4 days. Goes X-ray flux shows that solar flaring got clothesline. He's passed out on the bathroom floor and snoring. If we hadn't watched the solar shutdown for 2 years prior to this and predicted a quick drop-off to the uptick in activity, I wouldn't believe it, especially given the sunspots still looking dangerous. For 2 years now, I've watched delta spots fail to live up to their magnetic class. The brief upticks aside, we've now got 36 hours of the new normal again. Still delta at the southern trailer with potential development on the north end coming. Solar wind showing elevated density a bit above average, but the speed is barely outside the normal range. CME impacts have indeed hit, but they have been supremely weak, no KP above 3. The electron flux is trying to recover as well, and we got fading high energy proton flux. The derived coronal holes on ISWA show more of the leading extension of the incoming coronal hole. Still doesn't have very much power. You can see the bigger opening on the left side. That's the larger dark portion on the limb coming in that you see on the SDO AIA 193. That extension coming to the Earth-facing position appears to be creeping well ahead of the main opening and has for 2 days. The opening will directly face Earth right about the time Mercury is conjoining the Sun. Saturn will be racing in to bat cleanup afterwards. You can see how fast Mercury moves compared to Saturn and how small it gets in appearance as it conjoins between Earth and Sun. As we see less solar light reflection and more of the dark side of the planet, that's what's going to happen. When it comes off the screen to the right, it will brighten again. Now we have had above average foreshock activity in eastern China, northern Korea, and the Sea of Japan. We're also still taking rumbles nearer to the polar regions than we're used to seeing. All else aside, if you hadn't heard, the website attacks utilized the high user freedom I gave you on the forums. Turns out I failed to realize that would leave me very open to attack. The forums, the public ones, cannot stay. The private one will return in a few days. Now, if you moderated a pretty successful group, and there were quite a few of you, I will help you share your new one. If you want to recreate it elsewhere on your own site or something, I'll even help you. Counter-Strike Chapter 2 is posted early as well. You know I can't help myself. Eyes open. No fear, it's 6:45 a.m. Eastern Time, and that's the news. Be safe, everyone.
Alright, alright. Alright, so you're learning about Aaron Russo this week, who he is, what he's about. Very strong patriot. That's who he was, and it's amazing how he went from one profession to the next, from managing club, then to managing a performer and being a producer of, we know these movies, Trading Places, The Rose. These are very important movies in this culture that we have. So then he went on to documentaries, and you got to see the link from the piece the other day from Freedom to Fascism. Hope you get a chance to watch that entire piece at some point, because it's very, very good. Anyway, this is another excerpt from that movie. this is an actual piece where he is speaking with IRS Commissioner Sheldon Cohen. So I wanted to bring this up so you can actually hear this exchange. All right, here we go.
To call my message machine.
Hi, this message is for Aaron Russo. This is Anthony Burke at the Internal Revenue Service. Let me suggest some people that you might want to think about talking to. One would be Don Alexander, who's a former commissioner who's here in town in Washington. Another would be Sheldon Cohen, who is both a former commissioner and former chief counsel. All those guys, I think, could answer your question about, where in the tax law it says that you have to pay taxes.
Wow, good news, I thought. So I called Sheldon Cohen because he used to be the IRS commissioner. He wrote the tax code, and he was also general counsel to the IRS. He is a true expert, and I couldn't find a better person to answer my questions. He graciously agreed to my interview. The reason I'm doing this documentary is because there are many people in America today who believe that there's no law that requires them to pay an income tax or file a 1040. And there are many people going to jail for it, fighting over it.
The Internal Revenue Code is authorized by the 16th Amendment.
I think it should be clarified. I think government should be transparent to the people. Why doesn't the IRS commissioner sit down with them and just explain it in clear English? Why?
I don't think they really care. I think they're just playing word games.
You don't think they're sincere people?
No, I don't think they're sincere people.
What does voluntary compliance mean? And why does the IRS code say it's voluntary to comply, not mandatory?
That's a word euphemism we use. We use voluntary compliance when we talk about traffic signals. Most people, at 2 o'clock in the morning, do you stop at a red light?
Yeah.
Is there a cop there?
Sometimes I don't.
Well, I do, and most of us do.
Right.
But that's voluntary compliance.
That was a complete perversion of logic. Traffic laws state that it is mandatory to stop at a red light. The IRS code says it's voluntary to comply. Mandatory and voluntary are the complete opposite of each other. Yet he wants us to believe that they mean the same thing. So can the government criminally prosecute somebody of information put on their 1040?
Yes.
Right, so doesn't that violate the Fifth Amendment?
No.
But the Fifth Amendment says I don't have to do anything that incriminates myself.
Well, it doesn't incriminate you to put your income down.
But you said before I could be put in jail for it. The commissioner wants us to believe that although the IRS demands that you fill out the 1040 and you can go to jail for it, that they are not violating your Fifth Amendment rights of self-incrimination. That is absurd. Isn't it true that the word income is not defined anywhere in the Internal Revenue Code?
The law says that the government has a right to tax income from any source derived.
So, but the word income is not defined in the code. It just says income without a definition
That's right.
of what income is.
That's right.
Correct?
Yeah.
But there are many different kinds of taxes. Well, how can an American citizen know what income is if the code doesn't define it? If they're paying an income
Because
tax...
the courts have all defined it.
Do you remember what constitutional attorney Edwin Vieira said?
The definition of income in the Constitution was given in the Eisner versus Montgomery case, and it turns on gains or profits that are made from some activity.
So the Supreme Court has ruled income is not wages, it's not labor, it's gain from corporate activity. I believe that a man's labor is his private property.
That's your view, but it's not the law.
The Supreme Court's even said your labor is your private property. When I go to work for somebody, it's a trade. It's an even exchange. I do some work, you give me some money.
In 1916, we had the Brucheva case and the Stanton case. And the Brucheva case and the Stanton case said that the 16th Amendment gave the government no new taxing power.
I'm not going to argue the niceties of that with you.
And it came up again in a case called Peck versus Lowe, where the Supreme Court said the 16th Amendment did not extend Congress's taxing power to any new or accepted subjects. In other words, if you weren't taxable before the 16th, you weren't taxable after the 16th.
Today I interviewed a juror, who sat on a case, and they found the person not guilty for lack of filing, okay? And I asked her why they found him not guilty. And she said because the IRS couldn't show us the law that made him liable to file a 1040.
All they need to do, if there is a law, is to show us the law, which, of course, they never did.
And the reason they didn't do it was why?
Because there is no law.
Title 26 requires you to file a return.
But doesn't Title 26 have to be in compliance with the Supreme Court decisions?
You're going to take a 1920 case and superimpose it on the whole Internal Revenue Code that was written after it? No, that's not.
I can't believe what I just heard. Rewind.
You're going to take a 1920 case and superimpose it on the whole Internal Revenue Code that was written after it? No, that's not.
Remember he said earlier the Internal Revenue Code was authorized by the 16th Amendment?
The Internal Revenue Code is authorized by the 16th Amendment.
Remember, the Supreme Court said the 16th Amendment did not give the government any new taxing power. These decisions have never been overturned. Let's listen further. Can the lower courts overrule the Supreme Court?
No.
How are they putting people in jail today for not paying a tax on their labor when the Supreme Court said they don't have to? Doesn't the IRS code have to be in compliance with the Supreme Court? That's my question.
This is a waste of time.
Well,
because whatever I say, you're not going to believe.
He's right. I don't believe him. And neither should you. He wants us to believe we should obey the IRS code, which is being enforced in violation of the many Supreme Court decisions. If the Supreme Court made a decision...
Thank you, Aaron. I think we're finished.
I'm sorry, Mr. Cohen, you're doing that.
Well, I'm sorry that you constantly re-argue the point. You're liable because the law says that you're liable, and the courts say the law says you're liable, and that's why you're liable.
You see, he's talking about the lower courts, who are not in compliance with the Supreme Court, as they have to be. Doesn't the court have to be in compliance with the Supreme Court?
The Supreme Court has so held.
Where?
You caught me unprepared.
I'll come back.
Well, I don't want to do that.
But let me ask you a hypothetical question.
No. You're making silly arguments here.
Why is the Supreme Court decision a silly argument?
Well, because it's inapplicable.
That made my heart stop. He just said Supreme Court decisions do not apply to the IRS. That's the behavior you would expect from a totalitarian country, maybe China or Russia or Cuba. Not from America. They're just making up the law as they go along. Now I knew the tax honesty movement was right. The IRS thrives on intimidation and fear, not by law. It's no different than a criminal protection racket, using force to extract your money from you. Then the former IRS commissioner, now working at a prestigious Washington law firm, threatens me. Watch.
Aaron, you understand Yiddish. Cornish helfen.
For those of you who don't understand Yiddish, that means nothing will help you. Now it all became clear. I understood why the IRS wouldn't go on camera and talk about where the law was. I understood why all the senators I called refused to be interviewed. There is no law. And now you know what our political leaders and the courts have known for decades and have tried to cover up. The United States Constitution strictly forbids a direct, unapportioned tax on the wages and salaries of American citizens. The United States Supreme Court has consistently ruled that the income tax is a tax on profits and gains, not on labor and wages. On behalf of the American people, I challenge the IRS to show me a statute that allows a direct, unapportioned tax on the wages and labor of the American people. And if I'm wrong, I will give my most humble apologies to the IRS. If the IRS is wrong, and there is no law, then every person who's been jailed should be let out of jail immediately, and any assets seized should be returned to their rightful owners. If this is a nation of laws and a free country, then the IRS should show the law to the American people.
But of course, they can't show them the law because there is none. You see, American people have been lied to for a long while, and American people has accepted that they've been lied to. Most people don't even realize what you just saw in this piece about the IRS. It's amazing how many people don't really understand what's going on in their own country and how they comply with rules and regulations that never were made up in the first place, or with rules and regulations in this case which are being ignored. The Supreme Court and what they rule is absolutely being ignored, and you can see the corruption that goes on there at the highest levels of the IRS. So problematic, but we already knew that. We need to hope that more people understand this. If they do, maybe it'll make a change. All right, UFO News is up next.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
All right, Dirk. Thank you very much. Today's UFO News has 6 stories. Story number 1. This is another one from the NASA archives. This is UFO near Gemini 11 in the Earth's orbit. There we go. Lots of these are seen. All we have to do is look. The UFO was discovered yesterday in a NASA Gemini 11 photo. It shows the balanced shape with the center raised up, while its edges are thinner. It's flying flat parallel to the Earth's orbit. Thus, it confirms that it's an object in orbit. It's not standing like a wheel, but instead is horizontal, showing us that it probably has occupants on board it because they need room inside to walk around. Okay. So that was during the Gemini 11. Now from there we're going to go to the night sky, the western night sky. More people are seeing this. It's certainly multicolored. I take pictures of it often, and lots of colors. Mysterious glowing UFO in the sky seen in Bakersfield for the past 2 nights. Okay, maybe this isn't the same one. This mysterious UFO appeared and was tracked by an amateur astronomer in Bakersfield, California yesterday. The object came at low speeds over the city, moved around, and suddenly shot up at high speeds. It's good to see the news take this subject seriously. Bakersfield also had similar sightings of a similar craft back in December of 2012. If you live in Bakersfield, please tell us about what you might have seen. Okay. So, it's possible that this is the object that they were seeing because they've only been noticing it for the last couple days. Okay, so we'll just keep our attention on this, see what might come of it. Alright, now we're going to go over to St. Helens. Here we have an object there, a little thing in the middle, and then these apparent flames coming off of it. A photographer from St. Helens captured this unusual sight flying over one of the town's busiest parks. Lilia Hughes of West Park was walking through Taylor Park last Wednesday, October 23rd, when she spotted the object. A keen amateur snapper who regularly contributes to St. Helens Reporter's Picture of the Week, she managed to capture the weird sighting using a digital camera. She said it looked like a bright yellow spot in the western sky just above the clouds that move or change its shape during the 5 to 8 minutes. I had my observations of it. Alright, very interesting. Okay, next we have a this is an interview for you to listen to. It's almost 10 minutes in length. I'm going to leave it for you, but just wanted to make the link. It says retired Army Colonel John Alexander was part of a group of researchers and scientists who investigated reports of cattle mutilations and other strange occurrences at Skinwalker Ranch. The ranch is located southeast of Ballard, Utah, and was previously known as the Sherman Ranch. For years, stories of cattle mutilations, sightings of UFO orbs, and Bigfoot, among other paranormal events, had been reported on the ranch. So the link's available there, so you can check it out. Next story here is a good question people ask, especially people who are going through the abduction scenario. Why are aliens abducting us? So the article goes on to say, this is from UFO Digest. I watched the Canadian debut of a new movie on the movie network Saturday night. I must say it made quite an impression on me. It was called Dark Skies. I sat down expecting the run-of-the-mill formula alien invasion movie, but to my surprise was literally transported into the lives of characters on the screen facing the same horrors and shocks as they did. The movie stars Kerry Russell, Jake Brennan, and Josh Hamilton. One morning, Ken Russell's character, Lacey Barrett, the mother of the household, is the first to go downstairs to breakfast and is startled to see food stuff scattered all over the kitchen floor. She and her husband Daniel, played by Josh Hamilton, asked their children if they knew who made the mess, and the youngest child claims it was done by the Sandman. The next day, Lacey finds her dining room glassware stacked up one another, forming towers, casting geometric patterns on the ceiling. At this point, the police are called. The alarm is activated, and things go from bad to worse. In all this madness, Kerry Russell's character realized that science, common sense, and her husband's denial will not protect her family, and she seeks the city's foremost UFO investigator. So, let me just... It goes on to say here, in short, let's see. Lacey asks Pollitt why the Greys are targeting us, and this is the answer given in the movie. She explains abductees and those unwilling, harassed by the Greys are not special. He says, there's nothing special about you. I'm sorry you're hoping for a different answer, but this is beyond our comprehension. What answer would elaborate understand from a scientist in a white coat putting electrodes to a brain giving it cancer? I've interviewed literally hundreds of thousands who claim to have been visited by Greys. They come from all walks of life. The only thing they have in common is their lives have become a living hell because of it. Alright, so anyway, just wanted to bring this link up to you, see what you think, because sometimes television shows like this do have some interesting dialogue and stuff that answers questions, and again, the question, why are aliens abducting us, being explored. And this last piece here, well, this is Sammy Hagar. And Sammy Hagar is going to tell you about his alien abduction. Here we go.
I'm dreaming. I see these guys in my head. I see these.
What they look like?
They were just kind of the like a beams of light, you know, and they were kind of blue. Okay. And with no features, because it wasn't close up. I didn't, you know, it was just kind of, and I'm dreaming, and they're going, oh, he's waking up. We gotta end this, right? But there wasn't language spoken. It was just, you know, a telepathic thing. And then they hollered out this weird digital numerical code of our numerical system. It wasn't like 9, 11, 12, 13, 14, and it went whoop, and it ended. And I felt like there was a cord plugged into my head. But of course, they were 13 miles away, where I knew where they were, and I knew the area I was in. It was in my home. It was like one of those dreams when everything was the same. And I woke up, and it put me on a quest to say, what was that? That was so real. So I think it was a download and upload situation, like an experimental thing, like I was some guinea pig. They plug it in.
Did you see the movie Contact?
What's that?
The movie Contact?
Yeah.
Jodie Foster
Oh,
film?
yeah.
Is that kind of an experience?
Yeah. And you know, I'm a big believer. First of all, doctor, anyone that you call me crazy all you want, but anyone that says there's no one in this whole universe, we're the only life in this whole big giant vast universe, they're crazy.
That's crazy. I absolutely agree with
That's
you. No,
scary.
I agree. I think actually life gets catapulted forward by sort of catastrophic events from the universe. I have no doubt about that. But I'll remain skeptical about the guys with the white light.
All right, so there you go. Sammy Hagar talking about his experience. That is UFO News. Stay tuned. I'll be right back with more.
What if our government was responsible for some of the greatest crimes against this nation? Would you really want to know? These are big questions, but these questions deserve answers. It's time to demand the truth. People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid.
Alrighty, continuing on. Alright, this first story, I mean, you can't make this stuff up. Let me show you this. This is, okay, we all know what's been happening with the website, right? The ObamaCare website. Okay, it's been a horrible thing. the crashes, it's down, it wouldn't work. Well, yesterday, Miss Kathleen Sebelius had an opportunity to address this matter. And she says Human Health and Service Secretary Kathleen Sebelius claimed under oath today that the federal government's largely dysfunctional healthcare.gov site has never crashed. Even so, the site was down. I would suggest the website has never crashed, Sebelius said during Wednesday's House Commerce and Energy Committee hearing. It's functional, but at very slow speed and very low reliability. But it has continued to function. Since its loss earlier this month, the federal website has been ridiculed with glitches, error message, and most applicants have found it impossible to enroll in plans. Now, just so you can actually hear in her own words what she says, listen.
Yes, sir, because we were anxious to get the website up and running and functional, which we clearly have failed to do to date, although I would suggest the website has never crashed. It is functional, but at a very slow speed and very low reliability, and has continued to function. Having said that, they pared down some of the features, feeling that it would be better to load them in later. One was...
Okay, hear that? The website has never crashed. You know, these people are so full of BS. I mean, it's just incredible what goes on and the words games they play with people. I mean, has nobody told Kathleen, listen, if you happen to hear this, I want you to understand. Grade school kids these days can build websites, okay? Grade school kids can build e-commerce websites these days. It's true. Not every single one. But they teach these things, and certainly high school kids can teach them, Kathleen. So if you're trying to pull a fast one over the people, you need to realize that you're not able to do so because people understand technology a little bit better than you. We know this site's been horrendous. We know what's going on. It's just incredible the amount of lying that they will go through in this government to avoid taking responsibility for things. Horrible. Now, here is Brother Nathaniel. And this is a piece why Obamacare must be stopped. I wanted to play this, get his perspective on things in this regards.
If telling the truth about Obamacare gets you fired, then it's time to get Big Brother out of the healthcare business now. Fox News jumped right on it when Hannity called Obama's hotline to bypass the glitches on healthcare.gov.
President Obama on Monday urging people who were trying to sign up for Obamacare and couldn't get online to call the hotline. Well, on my radio program, we took the president, we took his advice, we called the number that he gave out, and a very nice, very pleasant woman named Earlene Davis picked up and answered every question we had, was very patient. Here's part of that conversation.
How come it's so hard to get on this website, though?
Everyone is trying to get in at one time, and we're having a lot of glitches in the system.
A lot of glitches in the system. Did they tell you to tell us that?
We have a script for that.
So people are reporting to you the real deal?
Yes, sir, they are.
Have you ever caught anybody that really likes it yet?
No, not really.
You were, by the way, you were kind, you were patient, you were helpful. You answered all our questions, which I think was actually a benefit because we have a big radio audience. We're on over 500 stations, and so that would result in fewer people calling. But the next day, what happened?
They fired me.
She's not the only one who got fired. Already 2 million private health insurance holders saw their plans canceled. And the prices jacked up due to the Obamacare mandate that forces every policy to meet a one-size-fits-all requirement. Why is it then, with 2 million pushed out of their plans with 17 million more terminations coming, is Obama's former Jewish advisor, David Axelrod, claiming otherwise? Are we really that stupid to believe yet another Obamacare lie?
There have been website disasters in private industry as well. So let's
David, none of them spent $800 million building a website.
Let's let's push that aside. You talk about transparency. This is the first time in history that you can make an apples-to-apples comparison about health care plans, you know, online in front of you.
Except with your old plan, because you're no longer eligible to buy your own plan, which was the #1 promise the president made to the American people. You cannot get what you have.
Most people are going to keep their own plan, Senator, and you know that.
That's not true.
There were some plans.
That's right. Not true. Obamacare forces people to pay for coverage they neither want nor need. It's all by design. Big Brother knows better how to spend your money. You'll never see your old plan or your favorite doctor again. Yet Obama vowed that everyone could keep their plan and keep their doctor. Erling Davis told the truth about Obamacare and got fired. Obama lies about Obamacare and gets a free pass.
After weeks of questions about whether the Obamacare website could be fixed and when, many policy experts say that is masking what is the real issue here, how much these plans will actually cost. It was one of President Obama's key selling points for his new health care law.
If you've got health insurance, it doesn't mean a government takeover. You keep your own insurance. You keep your own doctor. If you like your plan, you can keep your plan.
NBC News senior investigative correspondent Lisa Myers found buried in the 2010 Obamacare regulations language predicting a reasonable range for the percentage of individual policies that would terminate is 40% to 67%.
We're on our way to a single-payer system, my friends. Big Brother wants your body. And Harry Reid says everyone will be overjoyed to pay big taxes for it, too.
Hold on to your seat, or more like your wallet, because Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid's on the hunt for more money, as in more taxes, and says you're fine with that.
The only people who feel there shouldn't be more coming into the federal government from the rich people are the Republicans in the Congress. Everybody else, including the rich people, are willing to pay more. They want to pay more.
So are all of you really willing to pay more in taxes?
Not if they're wasting the money that they're collecting. No, I'd like to pay less because we pay a lot.
Not unless I get something for it, and I'm not getting much for it right now, other than listening to people fight in Washington.
And why have so many Jewish groups come out for the Obamacare scam? Centralization consolidates Jewish control. That's why. Every single Jewish senator voted for Obamacare. And all 4 Jewish judges on the Supreme Court tipped Obamacare into law and into the taxpayers' lap. Obamacare began with a lie, and the scam keeps on growing. If Obama can't take $400 million and get a website built, what makes you think he can solve health care with all of our money? My friends, it's time for some good old civil disobedience. Already the 20 to 30 age group are nixing the plan. If you value your freedom, don't sign up for Obama's health care scam.
All right. Now, what's crazy is here in this country for a long time there's been investigators, Sheriff Joe Maggio, on the case for Obama's ineligibility. We've got all the coincidences from the things that Jesus had said to about Luke chapter 10, the Antichrist. We have the names that his security team calls him, the Beast, or the Renegade, which is a name attributed to the Antichrist, and of course the Beast, which is attributed. On and on. And then you've got other countries coming out and saying that Obama is a Muslim terrorist planted in our government. How stupid do you think America is going to look, and how stupid do you think Americans are going to feel when comes out that this is real, that we've allowed a terrorist to infiltrate our government? You see, there's that misconception out there that this was done and it was just such a big goof up. But we've all been aware of our government for a long time, and they usually go through plans and plans and plans. Yes, there's some screw-ups along the way, but do you really think it was just unintentional? Or perhaps has this been an intentional ploy, as you heard in the video earlier this week, to take America down, because Obama is a terrorist in the office and his only intent is to destroy America? Well, he's doing that. Well, Republicans and Democrats get caught up in this battle that is nonsensical, fighting over one side or the other, when neither side is pulling the strings. You got to look behind the curtain, my friends. That's what's going on there. That's who's pulling the strings, and America is being fooled. Actually, America is being torn apart. And while most people are still living in denial, it continues to happen each and every day. And it's only when Americans truly wake up and say, and understand what's going on, understand the accusations, understand the liars that are in positions of authority, only then will we be able to move past this. But until then, I guess it's just going to be a minority who have their eyes open, while majority just go through life blind like a zombie. We do live in a state of zombies all around us that aren't paying attention to anything. Now, we've been hearing about what the White House knew about the spying, right? Well, here's an article from activist Post, Madison Rupert. It says current and former U.S. intelligence officers confirmed that both the White House and State Department knew about the approved surveillance of the phone conversation of the allied foreign leaders, according to the LA Times. This comes after it was revealed that the NSA spied on the phone of some 35 world leaders and has led to an outcry in Spain, France, Mexico, and Germany, along with the consideration of anti-NSA resolution in the UN. So again, we have a situation now where the rest of the world or major countries are becoming very irritated with America because of these policies. Yes, the man in office is responsible, but the man in office before him was equally as responsible. Okay? This plan to tear America has been going on for a while. Check out George Bush and his background and connections to the Nazi family, okay, and how the Hitler family was funded by the Bush family. All you have to do is look at the connections from one president to the next, and you realize America has been getting dealt with in a very unfair way for a long time, and Americans are at the short end of the stick for the most part. Now, Americans are stepping up. There are people that are doing some things. Here in Washington, D.C., it's got some prosecutors concerned. There's a billboard popped up that advocates jury nullification. It says jury duty, know your rights. Very important thing. This illuminated billboard in the Judiciary Square metro station near F Street entrance was strategically placed. Prospective jurors who take the subway to D.C. Superior Court and exit near the National Building Museum see the words, "Good jurors nullify bad laws," and you have the right to hang the jury with your vote if you cannot agree with other jurors. Since the billboard went up this month, district prosecutors have been worried that the message could sway their cases. In the past week alone, they have asked judges in 3 cases to ensure that jurors had neither seen nor been influenced by the billboard. The billboard is part of a growing national campaign to encourage jurors who disagree with the law or think it is a punishment too harsh to vote for acquittal. Kirsten Tynan of the Montana-based Fully Informed Jury Association, whose name and web address is included on the billboard, said that the nonprofit group literally challenges crimes it calls victimless, such as vandalism by the graffiti or gun possession. All right, the article goes on, but here, I mean, this is in itself lets you know the state of the prosecutors that are out there, that they want to make sure that no one has been influenced by the billboard. Again, the billboard is encouraging jurors to know their rights. So the prosecutor wants to make sure that no potential juror is been influenced to know their rights. Make sure they don't know their rights. See, we're in a bad situation. The bad apples are the ones who keep these bad laws going. They just need to go. They just need to go. But I'm going to continue to believe in the promise that the wicked and the ungodly are to be removed. That is what these end-time prophecies are really about, from book to book, from prophecy to prophecy. The wicked and the ungodly are to be removed. So, bye-bye, prosecutors. Your days of running the scams on the people are coming to an end, because guess what? You're part of the wicked and the ungodly. Oh well, you chose that path, not me, so deal with it. Now, this is a strange occurrence that happened yesterday. These men here in black robes showed up at an event. It says Chelsea's Stanford Bridge became the latest football venue to host a gang of mysterious visitors on Sunday when 11 men in robes were spotted at the Premier League clash with Manchester City. Figures closely resemble those seen on Saturday's Bundesliga fixture between Bayern Munich and Hertha Berlin at the Allianz Arena. There they are right there. As a previous sighting, they wore black robes with mysterious circles on their chest and were seen making curious synchronized movements at irregular intervals during Chelsea's 2-1 win. They also stood in unison at random moments. Situated 3 rows back from the corner of the field, the gang could be seen on TV cameras bearing pictures of the crunch fixture and all the world. Okay. So, very interesting. Here we have a number of 11 men dressed in black robes. Take a moment to think about this. It shouldn't take you long. But who wears black robes like that? The good guys or the bad guys? Think about it for a minute. The good guys or the bad guys? Okay, we heard of black magicians, the black robes. Okay, now I want you to think back to the Olympics and remember the Olympic Stadium, and they had all of those big stage settings that they had. And in the one stage setting, you had a huge magician in black robes. Remember that? See, magic is a very real thing, my friends. And people can use magic in ways that can be very diabolical or hurtful to others. It's called black magic when you get into magic that's very selfish. And oftentimes it comes back to hurt the individual that was involved with it. But it often goes out into the world and hurts many innocent people who are unaware of this. Now, I don't know if this situation with these 11 characters are a joke, if this is some sort of viral marketing program that's going on. But I do know that there's these characters in the black robes that keep showing up and kind of creeping people out. We'll have to pay attention to see what's going on here. The symbol that they have on their chest is very similar, somewhat to like a nuclear symbol. There was something going on in New York and some of the billboards I think I showed you earlier this week. So maybe this is a connection with the soccer. I don't know, but very interesting indeed. All right, I want to move over to get to this third part of this Merkava. Okay, the third part. So the first two parts, to refresh our memories, first two parts is we're imagining 3 different geometric shapes. Okay, the first two are these triangles that are, let me go show you the picture here, are these triangles just like this. Okay, we're seeing a triangle go downward and a triangle upward. This upper triangle is the masculine or male triangle, and the one going downward. What we're visualizing is from the tip here to the tip down here, a tube that energy is flowing through. And so we do our first 6 breaths, and the first 6 breaths are intended to generate energy within the body. Okay? To generate the energy within the body. Then as we generate that energy, and we do so by with our fingers. Remember, we have a finger pattern where we touch the thumb and the first finger for the first breath, thumb and the second finger for the second breath, third finger, fourth finger, which is the little finger, and then go back to the first one again. Okay, we do that for 6 breaths. In the second setting, we're going to add another shape to it, and that's this circle. Okay. Now, in this one, we imagine that this, and we don't worry about the triangles in the middle. We're just going to imagine the circle. And in the second series of breaths, as we went over yesterday, it was about taking in, bringing the light and energy down, and allowing it to come up and meet here right at the belly button. Okay, and when it meets here, we imagine it then going outward and filling the circle with light. Okay, and we worked to make this circle filled with light. So now we've had the first 2 sessions where we have formed the triangle. We've imagined the energy flowing in, and now we're going to, and then we've allowed it to continue to fill outward, right? Now we're going to move into the third part. The third part is the part where it gets a little bit more intense. The third part says what we're going to do is we're just going to, for 3 breaths, 11th, 12th, and 13th breath, says the mind is just going to relax, and we're just going to breathe rhythmically, just to to experience this feeling, okay? Just relax and feel the flow of prana flowing between the poles from the top to the bottom and meeting at the level and expanding out. Okay, you just do that for the next 3 breaths, 11th, 12th, 13th. When you get to the 14th breath, this is where things are going to change. Now we're going to imagine that the place where the energy moves as it's coming down the center of the tube from the top and rising upward, instead of it meeting at the belly button, we're going to see it meeting a little bit higher now, moving up right just below the navel, the sternum, okay, to that chakra right there. And it says where the 2 beams meet from the navel to the sternum, the entire large sphere, along with the original sphere, which is also still contained, moves up to the meeting point within this tube. Though it is very easy to do, is extremely powerful movement. Reeling from this new point within the tube will invariably change your awareness from the 3rd to 4th dimensional consciousness, or from Earth consciousness to Christ consciousness. Okay, and the way that we're going to put the hands is right here. It's called the mudra. Is when you change the hand position. This one here, we're going to take the left palm, and we're going to place it on top of the right for the males, and if you're a female, the right on top of the left. And you're just going to keep your hands in that position while you continue to breathe. And the last 3 breaths are the important ones, because this is where we really take off, so to speak. The last 3 breaths are where we really energize, and I'm going to leave these for you to deal with. We're going to work on the other ones leading up to in our meditation today, but we're just simply going to leave these 3 here. And these are where you actually begin to use particular words and visualize these tetrahedrons revolving around you. Okay, so you've got the 1 tetrahedron, which is comprised of, let me just remind you, you got the 1 tetrahedron here, which is comprised of the top and the bottom. So both of these triangles together form 1 tetrahedron. So you got 1 that's going to be going counterclockwise. Okay, that's the one that's going to connect with your 4th chakra. The chakra down here, your emotional chakra, is going to be revolving the other direction. Okay, clockwise. And that, when it revolves clockwise, it's both of these triangles together. Okay, they're joined together. So you got this one whole shape here going clockwise, and 1 going counterclockwise, and a 3rd one just as you see it in a stationary position. Okay, so you've got all these things going on here, and then basically what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and do these last couple breaths, and as you get to speed moving up, then you're going to use the code words in your head, equal speed. Now you're not supposed to do this until you actually get to the point where in this process here it says you are asked not to attempt the 4th part until you have made contact with your higher self, and your higher self is giving you permission to proceed. This part is to be taken seriously. The energies that will come in and around your body and spirit are a tremendous power. If you are not ready, you could hurt yourself. If your higher spirit gives you permission to enter into the Merkaba, do not fear, for you will be ready. Okay? So I'm going to leave these things for you to read here, the last of it. But basically, once you have that breath ready to go, then you're ready to take the next phase. So let's just leave it at the other one for a while. And I'm going to leave the link so you can read it, because it does take a little time to build up. And so before jumping too far ahead, we want to situate ourselves at that place right there. Okay? Now, let's go over and listen to our message for today. This is Galactic Federation of Light message, more particularly Jesus. Here we go.
Jesus, how much longer can you ignore that ear-splitting noise calling for you to awaken?
October 29, 2013, by John Smallman. The oneness of all of creation is the underlying truth that supports all that exists, and for you, embodied as individual human beings with many different beliefs and cultures, that is an enormous paradox. And your guide through the paradox, the maze, is your intuition, your guidance from your true self, and from those on whom you may choose to call in the spiritual realms. And to make contact with that guidance you have to break away from the distractions with which the illusion constantly presents you, deadlines, responsibilities to others, and various other shoulds and musts that you accept as inevitable and unavoidable burdens, and take time out in your peaceful inner space to be quiet and to listen. And that can be very difficult initially as your daily chores and responsibilities keep popping into your mind with the message you just don't have time for this right now. However, if you manage to override those constant calls for your attention, and you will to a certain extent if you persist in not engaging with them, you will create a place within you, or, more realistically, you will uncover within yourselves a place of peace and safety that has always been there for you. You most certainly need to uncover it for your own well-being. And when you do, those with whom you are in any kind of a relationship, family, work, religious or political associates will also gain. After all, as we in the spiritual realms keep telling you, all are one, and therefore your existence, your life, your thoughts, your words, and your actions all have an effect on the lives of everyone else without exception. The wonderful thing about this moment in humanity's ongoing spiritual evolution is the rapidly increasing sense of awareness that each one of you has your own path to follow, and not a one-size-fits-all path designed or recommended by some guru or authority figure. People whom you respect as mentors can be enormously helpful to you as long as you also listen carefully to your own inner knowing, so that when it comes to making decisions you also fully honor that inner intuitive sense. Wise, loving, and compassionate mentors and guides, who have no personal agenda to fulfill, can help you to identify what your intuition is attempting to tell you. But then you have to come to an awareness, an understanding of what that is, so that you can decide what action, if any, to take in the situation that you are seeking guidance about. In the end, it always comes down to love. If your choices are not based on love, but on ego self-centeredness, then you are choosing not to learn the lesson being presented to you, and it will have to be presented to you again at a later date, and maybe in completely different circumstances. You did not understand it the first time, so a new approach will be introduced in the hope that it has more meaning for you. The lessons that you chose to have presented to you during your human lives will continue to be presented to you until you recognize them for what they are and make an effort to understand them and then learn from them. Each one leads perfectly to the next, and consequently you cannot skip or bypass any, because they each give you insights that will help you to understand the next one. Your life paths and the lessons that you chose to have appear on them in front of you were very wisely and lovingly created so that you could obtain the highest benefit with the minimum of suffering. It is not imposed suffering that you experience when you do not learn your lessons, it is just the inevitable result of error. For instance, if you drive your vehicle too fast around a sharp bend on a wet or icy road, you are likely to have an accident because you have made an error of judgment. There is no punishment involved or intended, although you may choose to interpret what occurs in that way. When the separation occurred, you moved into a state of amnesia, and memories, which depend on the linear flow of time, locked you neatly into the time continuum so that the now moment, in which all of creation exists eternally, was closed off or hidden from you, and your knowing of your oneness with God was temporarily mislaid. Without that knowing of God's infinite, eternal, and unconditional love for you, and of which you are each essential and inseparable aspects, severe suffering assailed you. You were created in love from love by your Heavenly Father, and to lose that love, as it seems that you did, has caused unimaginable pain and suffering. That is why He wants and intends that you awaken from your horrific nightmare. He wants only your eternal happiness. He neither judges nor punishes, because that is not the way of love. You have attempted to hide from the terror that you instigated, to disguise it, and to deny it, but as long as you appear to be separated from His love, it will be there undermining your self-worth by convincing you that because you are unloved, as it seems to you that you are therefore unworthy of love. To live with that belief is too painful to endure, and so it is refuted, denied, and hidden deep in your unconscious for as long as you have the ego strength to contain it. When the separation happened, your Father instantly provided for its dissolution by ensuring that your connection to Him was unbreakable and eternal. Of course it was always unbreakable, you just were not aware of that, and always available to you if you chose to go within to your inner unseparated space and call on Him or your spiritual guides, angels, saints, or mentors for assistance. Often you were afraid to do that, or did so reluctantly and skeptically, thus deciding not to be aware of that divine and always-on connection to Him. Nevertheless, over the eons that connection has been increasing the volume of its calling to you, and in the last few decades more and more of you have heard it and responded. As the numbers responding have grown, so has the volume of its ringing, so that all are now hearing it, even if all are not yet acknowledging it, which is why you are going to awaken. It is as though you had pushed the snooze button on your alarm clocks when they sounded off in the morning because you wanted a few more minutes in bed, but the alarm in snooze mode is very persistent, and its volume increases with each new burst of buzzing until it is impossible for you to ignore it any longer. That is where humanity is now. How much longer can you ignore that ear-splitting noise calling for you to awaken? Your loving brother, Jesus.
Alright, good message. That brings us to our angel message for today. And the message is: gather as much information as you can. Enjoy studying. This will soon come in useful. This will come in useful soon. Alright. Very nice. And let's go to our meditation for today. So close your eyes. Take a deep breath. And exhale. I want you to put your two fingers together, your thumb and your forefinger. Take a deep breath. Inhale. I want you to imagine the star tetrahedron around you, a triangle facing upward, and a triangle facing down with a point into the ground. Just like a six-pointed star. Imagine this around you. So inhale. Have your eyes looking up to the top of the triangle. And as you exhale, watch as your eyes follow all the way down this line of light, just down this tube from the top to the bottom. And switch fingers to the next finger, thumb and the second finger. Inhale. Take your eyes to the top, look at the top of the triangle. And exhale, slowly bringing your eyes all the way down to the point at the bottom that goes down into the earth. Switch fingers to the third finger, thumb and the third finger. Inhale. Raise your eyes upward as you do, looking at the top of the pyramid above your head. And exhale. Slowly bring your eyes down all the way till they see the bottom point of the triangle facing downward. Switch to the next finger, to the little finger, thumb and the little finger. Inhale. Raise your eyes as you do, and then exhale, slowly bringing your eyes all the way down, watching as the energy moves down to the tip of the triangle in the ground. Switch to back to the first finger again. Inhale. Looking up at the top of the triangle, and exhale slowly, bringing your eyes down to the energy, watching it all the way to the bottom point of the triangle. And one more breath. Inhale, looking up. Exhale, following the energy all the way down. Now I want you to imagine, as you take this next breath, that the energy coming down from the top of the head to the bottom meets right around the belly button area. I want you to see this light meeting at this area there. Inhale. And exhale. And as you exhale, just see the light meeting, getting brighter each time. Inhale again. Finger at the second finger and the thumb. And exhale. And the light moves out from around the belly button a little bit further out into the circle around you. Inhale again. Now at the third finger. And exhale. And with this exhale, light fills more and more of the sphere around you. Switch to the next finger, thumb and the little finger. Inhale. And exhale again. See the energy, the light filling up the sphere. And again, inhale. And exhale. And see this energy filling this sphere to the point where it's bulging over, and just sit in that moment. Take your two hands and place, if you're a female, the right palm on top. If you're a male, the left palm on top, and place your two palms together. And inhale again. And exhale. And just feel the energy all around you in this sphere. Just imagine this star tetrahedron around you. And just inhale again. And just feel and experience this place. Now, we're going to go ahead and we're just going to send out love from our heart chakra around the world. This is the place where you want to bring yourself to in meditation. And then as you feel ready, you would take the next step further. But this is where we're going to stop. And what I want you to do is you're going to inhale, and as you exhale, I want you to just imagine that the sphere opens up and the energy now dissipates out into the world around you. So take a deep breath, inhale. And exhale, and just imagine this sphere disappearing, and the energy dissipates around you. Take another deep breath. And exhale. And as you do, just imagine love. Imagine love going all around the planet. Let that be our mission for today. So one more inhalation. Hold it. And exhale out into the world, thinking of love. And as we do, let's bring our conscious mind back to the present moment on the count of 3. 3, coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2, coming back to the present moment filled with faith. And 1, coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. Go ahead and take another deep breath. Exhale. And open your eyes. That's it, my friends. That is our show for today. Thanks for being here. You know, today being Halloween, it's a day where there's a lot of energy out in the world. Let's just send positive vibes out into the world. I know that we have associations with this day, with some of the darkness attached. People go out and they have fun. Some take it a little bit more serious than others. But let's just send good vibes into the world. So whoever's out there is safe and sound with whatever they're doing. Alright? I'll be back tomorrow with more news and information. Have an awesome day, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace. I'm out of here.